Hey, everybody, and welcome to We Watch TV. It's the podcast about the TV that we watch. I am Daniel. She is Hope. This is episode 97, and we're celebrating, for those who celebrate, happy Daylight Savings Time.
Wait, is it daylight? I always get confused. I just call it spring forward and fall back because I get confused which one is which.
Are we not saving daylight by...
I guess so, yeah.
Skipping forward?
And you sounded way too enthusiastic because you've been on my vibe of, oh my gosh, I'm
well,
so tired.
so I finally... had
coffee.
It is almost 7 p.m. on March 10th, and I have finally gotten enough caffeine into my system that I feel like a person.
Okay.
Which means I'm not going to sleep tonight, which means I'm going to feel even worse tomorrow, and it's just a repeating cycle. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go through it. You had a cup of coffee this morning, hot coffee.
2 cups of coffee.
2 cups of hot coffee.
Yeah.
Then you had...
I had a Coke Zero with lunch.
Coke Zero with lunch.
I had another Coke Zero in the afternoon.
What?
And then I had an iced coffee after work.
When you asked if you could have the rest of my iced coffee, I did not know that you had already consumed 2 Coke Zeros. I might have said no.
When I asked if I could have the iced coffee, and you said yes, I went to the kitchen and grabbed a Coke Zero because I forgot that I was going to get an iced coffee. And so that's why
you're so tired.
So then I got one after work.
I only had hot coffee this morning and then iced coffee.
I've probably had about 500 milligrams of caffeine over the course of the day, which is above the recommended.
So what are you going to have with your dinner this evening?
Beer.
I see.
Help counteract.
Man. You know what, though? Spring forward wouldn't bother me so much if we just never switch time. Because I like... that
well, then we wouldn't be spring forward if we didn't switch time.
If we just kept time as this.
Okay.
What I'm saying is losing the hour of sleep would not bug me because I wouldn't be losing an hour of sleep. It would always be like this.
So just say, let's not change time.
Let's not change time. Well, fall back, we get to add an hour, which is always nice. But then, it's dark at 5 o'clock. I do feel better that it's 7 p.m. and the sun's still shining.
Yeah.
And it does help.
It takes a couple days to get adjusted to it. But
it does help that it's finally a little bit warmer outside. Like it helps.
As I'm dressed in a sweatshirt and sweatpants.
Well, I'm wearing a t-shirt and shorts, so to each their own, I guess.
Hey,
I'm so tired.
Woo!
You know what we were talking about this before we recorded. We were like, is it 6 months that you spend in one time of like fall back and 6 months in spring forward? But it's not, because fall back you switch in November. So it's November, December, January, February, and like a little bit in March. So that's like 4, not quite 5 months because it's early March. Then you're like March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October.
Counting on her fingers here,
months.
folks.
Well, earlier I forgot a month. So I was like, see, that's 11 months total. I was like, wait a minute, there's 12 months in a year. So we already are spending less time in falling back. Like, I know you get the extra hour, but like, what is the point? Like, I know it used to be a thing about like farmers, but like, that's not true anymore. Like, what's the point?
I don't know. It was never about the farmers. The cows get up when the cows get up.
Well, that's what they used to tell us in school.
That was a lie.
Okay.
Like, the cows just get up whenever the cows get up. The cows are like our dog. They don't know what time is. The sun comes up, and they're like, oh, I guess it's time to do that.
Yeah.
So that's never been an excuse, a reasonable excuse. It's just stupid. Somebody came up with it a million years ago.
What is time?
And they're
really
dumb, and we all hate that person. And we should figure out where they're buried and go desecrate it.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I'm not...
What?
Hey, everybody. So if you have comments about any of the things I just said, including the desecration of graves, remember that there's a link in our episode description right at the very top that allows you to leave us some fan mail. And we've got a little bit of fan discussion to go over here before we jump into our television conversation. Do you want to start or shall I?
I can start because I'd have to go back through my texts. But your sister Hannah texted me and said that she also found pre-severed Mark, Adam Scott, to be very hot in the flashback scene where he's like bend over with like the syringe and the Gemma focused episode. So the girlies, and maybe some of the guys too, are digging pre-severed Mark. It's amazing how good you can look before your life falls apart, I guess.
Yeah, it helps to not to actually be enjoying life with your attraction level. So we discussed a lot of Disney last week.
It was like a part 1 Disney and then part 2 our normal content because people have asked us to talk about Disney.
And part of that discussion, you said multiple times that people wanted to hear us talk about it.
I literally just said it on this podcast just now. Were you not listening to me?
No, not at all.
I just said the reason why we did part 1 is because people have asked us to talk about Disney and Run Disney.
So we got some feedback from one of our great longtime listeners, Nice Fowl, a.k.a. John Powell Fowl. And he's...
John Paul Fowl.
I'm sorry, John Paul Fowl. I cannot read. I cannot speak.
You don't listen.
I cannot listen. I'm just buzzing with caffeine right now. He gave us a little bit of a list of the things he likes y'all talking about.
So he's not one that's for the Disney speak.
Doesn't seem to be. So number 1 item on a list, he loves when we're talking about losing our power.
Well, that happens often. So, I mean, odds are good it's going to happen probably pretty soon.
Yeah, odds are good that we're going to talk about it again soon. I got to say, I don't agree with him on this.
I'm going to hardcore disagree.
I don't like this. I do enjoy number 2, ships versus ships.
Yeah.
That's a deep cut. And I'm so glad, and I'm so happy.
And I'm surprised he would bring that up because that's Star Trek related.
It makes me so happy. It's not, I like other kinds of ships besides just Star Trek ships.
What's the ship from Pirates of the
Sailing
Caribbean?
ships of the Black Pearl.
The Black Pearl.
Sailing ships are cool. Military ships are cool. All kinds of ships are cool. Airships are cool.
Airships?
Yeah. They're more like a fantasy thing. They don't really exist unless you count blimps. They're kind of the ships of the air. Airplanes aren't ships.
This is about to get really dark, but everybody in school, speaking of ships, either did a social study. I didn't. My project won, by the way, because I didn't do a topic that everybody else did. But this one I get, millennial women, for some reason, were obsessed with the Titanic. Everyone either did a project on the Titanic sinking or what was that blimp that blew up?
The Hindenburg.
The Hindenburg, or that. Was that the same way? Was that your school experience, or was that just the West Virginia public education?
I have no memory
of
that kind of project.
You just don't remember anything.
No.
Okay, go on.
Number 3 on his list, he enjoys us talking about sports.
Okay. Let's go Mountaineers.
Number 4, he enjoys TV cheating on each other discussion. I just want to make a note.
You've never cheated
that's
on
a
me.
one-way thing.
Yeah.
I've never cheated on you on TV.
Well, I have cheated on you many times.
Number 5, eating and drinking. One of my favorite topics.
Even when
Truly.
It's that disgusting Oreo Coke Zero.
Well, I love. There's nothing more satisfying than finding some corporation that made some abomination of a snack and then trashing it because it's bad.
Or having to admit that it's not bad, like the dirty soda.
Number 6, if you can believe it, TV shows and movies.
All right, which is the point of the podcast.
Yay. Okay.
Number 6 on the list. Woo!
Things get a little dubious here. Number 89, by the way, he did not include numbers 7 through 88. Number 89, Star Wars. So I'm going to take that as maybe he doesn't want to hear about Star Wars. Good news, we're going to start watching Andor soon.
And Revenge of the Sith is coming back to theaters in May, so I have to go see it again to see Anakin can stay
what
good.
viewing will this be?
I believe it'll be theatrical.
Theatrical
number 7.
viewing? Yeah, number 7. Okay. Which you're beating me hand over. I only saw it 3 times, I think. That I can recall.
Love it.
Then he skips again from 89 Star Wars down to 156 Disney. Did not list out the other in-between ones.
Such a hater.
And then 157 Star Trek.
See, Star Trek is still not as good as me. Well, all I can say is that we have, this is the podcast, we have a little bit of everything for everybody. So we hope we satisfy the people that wanted Disney, and then I'm sure John Paul put me on. He already says he like puts us on. He speeds us up. And I probably sound like this when I talk, so maybe I was like, Disney, 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 Disney. And now let's talk about the White Lotus. So we got chapter markers, speed us up. But we have something for everybody.
I think so.
Talking about Daniel's caffeine intake, how Daniel doesn't listen to me.
I haven't blinked in a while.
We are now the Muppet Christmas Carol podcast, too. I have to get that in every time now. We're freezing our assets off. You know how I feel right now? Where Scrooge wakes up the next day, but he looks at himself in the mirror.
Oh.
And
Yeah. It's that kind of Monday. It really is. It's been a Monday. It's been a Monday of Mondays.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, so we have watched a little bit of TV.
We have.
And now we're going to talk about it.
Okay, let's kick things off with The White Lotus. We watched, was it episode 4?
Yes.
Episode 4. I feel like all I do is wait. I'm like that Anthony Hopkins like standing there meme. Like I'm just like waiting all day on Sunday, really Saturday for The White Lotus. 9 p.m. show times used to not bother me in my youth. Like I know that's what time Game of Thrones came on, and I really felt like even with the time change, like I was just, come on, let's go, because I'm excited for the show, but I was also tired already on Sunday, and I just felt like all I did was wait. But you know what? It was worth the wait because what a great episode. Possibly the best episode of the season so far. What do you think?
It was really good. I do want to make an amendment. The theme song bangs.
Yes. We love it now.
It's
we dance
excellent.
to it now.
They haven't changed it, but it feels like they changed it. It's very good.
We're into it now. Yeah. We're dancing around. I have to, tip my cap there as well and say that we were so upset about it, but now it works. It works for the vibe of this season, but we're still getting the little remnants of the OG theme song with certain scenes of Greg / Gary.
They're bringing it in a little bit more.
They're weaving it in. Good.
Yeah. This was a tension builder of an episode.
Yes.
And
Piper, no! Tsunami! Buddhism!
Are you quite done?
You know what? I could hear Parker Posey use her White Lotus accent to read me the phone book because I live for Victoria Ratliff. But you know what I don't love? Even though I love that there's a Harry Potter person in here, I wasn't expecting...
To see his wand? Lucius Malfoy hanging dong?
What? Why don't use that phrase?
Why not? That's what they did.
I knew, and you know what I thought about it?
Full frontal male nudity.
I was thinking about it before it happened, and not because I wanted to see Malfoy's wand.
You were thinking about it?
But I was thinking about it. But he comes out in that robe, and it was very loosey-goosey, and just knowing the show, I was like, that robe's going to fly open, isn't it? And then, but then it was still like, ah! There was wands up. Literally put your wand up.
Oh, yeah.
Malfoy.
Because he's popping the pills.
Yeah, so he's been taking Victoria, his wife's lorazepam, and who knows what else of her little mini walking pharmacy. And I wondered last week, I was like, I wonder if she's going to notice, because she gave him the first one, but when he starts taking it, I was like, she's going to start to freak out if he uses up her supply or she notices it's missing. And I think we're going to start to see that unraveling, because he full blown when they went to that boat party on Greg / Gary's boat, and the scene, she's like, where can I put my purse? This should be like me at a party. And
it would be you.
Wherever. And she's just like, oh, Miss Congeniality. And she stuck it behind that pillow, and he saw her do that. So he goes over and he swiped the whole bottle. So she's thinking anybody on this boat, just because they're rich doesn't mean they're not trashy people.
That's correct.
And
most of the episode was the boat party. So except for the 3 women, the whole main cast ends up on the boat.
Yeah, we'll get to the 3 women in a minute, but we have everybody on the boat because we have Rick, Walton, I always want to say Walton Goggins' character, and Chelsea. They're on the boats. Belinda's not on the boat, but she puts it together out about Greg / Gary.
Yeah, that's going to end poorly, I think.
I think so, too. So, the main kind of, group, we have them on the boat, the Ratliff family. And it was just it was a good, like, all the scenes. So we've got Timothy, aka Malfoy, getting just smashed on all the pills, trying to avoid life. We finally know what Piper, the daughter, we kind of figured this, that now her goal is she don't want to become like a monk, but she wants to like study there, right? And like do a meditation course or like something.
Yeah, but
something
I think
weird.
like she had rused them into coming here by suggesting that she was writing a dissertation on it.
Thesis.
Which is not the case. Like
Yeah,
she's just
I always knew she was lying about that. Something was up.
I don't know if it's just she's trying to escape whatever world she's in back home or what the situation is there.
Maybe her weirdo family, but
Well,
bad news for her is I think that Timothy, I think that he is, because he was asking Greg about like how he ended up in Thailand, and I'm thinking he might like end up wanting to stay because he's in all that trouble with the law. Like obviously we know he embezzled money and stuff. Because at one point when they get off the boat, he asks for his phone back, and I think some of the pills had worn off a little bit. So he gets on the phone and he's like, I'm not going to prison and all this stuff. And you see him, like you pointed out several times, he's clutching his chest.
He clutches his chest, which I think,
possibly
I think
stress,
I think maybe they're trying to show anxiety, but I think you could also, I think he's going to have some sort of cardiac event before the season is over.
Yeah.
And he also did one other thing. Like since we're there, we're already at the end of the episode, but the last thing we see in the episode, so the security guard guy is in trouble for not being a very good security guard guy.
He's distracted by Mook. She's not going to ever go out with you, my dude.
He's not a good security guy, and so
very bad at
he's
his
looking
job.
at this gun that his boss gave him and said, "Hey, go to the gun range tonight and learn how to use this thing." And then Mook comes by and distracts him, so he sits the gun down and walks off without it. And then when he comes back, it is gone, and the only person that they have pointed us in the direction that Timothy took it.
Yeah.
Now they've left the door open for that not to be the case.
Just like what a Malfoy would do.
But I'm getting the impression that he took it and he's planning to just shoot himself at some point.
Or I don't know. Maybe I have no idea what's going on, but I'm excited for that. So then we've got Chelsea, not him shooting himself.
Excited for good old-fashioned American gun violence.
No, I'm excited to see where his storyline goes. So before we get to Chelsea and Rick, let's talk about creepy Saxton, the brother. Cannot stand him, but he's once again with his stupid blender. There was this point, well, I read it, like I remember hearing it, but then I read about it. They said that there is poisonous fruit on the island. Somebody's going to put poisonous fruit in that blender and someone's going to die or get poisoned. I don't think we're going to be so fortunate that it's going to be Saxon. I think it might be the little brother.
Yeah.
Lachlan.
I don't know if it's going to be a death, but I think it certainly will be a hospitalization situation.
So those just the whole creepy vibes. And then somebody also said, could his brother end up losing his scholarship to Duke or UNC if those pictures come out of him drinking on the boat?
Maybe. I don't know.
Because he's only like 18.
Thing is, we don't ever get to see what happens to people after they leave the resort.
Yeah.
So we won't know that, because we're not going to hear about that.
And now Piper's mad at him because she wanted him to have like her back.
Yeah.
Like the kids are acting less like Flowers in the Attic-y lately, but they're still creepy. The whole family's creepy. But I just want to hear Victoria talk. And she hated Victoria. No one hated the boat more than Victoria. She gets off and like Saxton and Lachlan are like, well, we're going to go on this like party, which I think will be the theme of the next episode, like the moonlight ride or something. And she's like, ew, why? Basically. And then also when she was trying to talk to people and be social in the boat, did you catch where she's like, my cousin met somebody on internet dating and he turned out to be decent or something?
Yeah.
It just, I like all her facial expressions, like Parker Posey is just perfect for that role.
Yeah, she's killing it.
So the creepy Ratliff family aside, my favorite character is not even Walton Goggins, Rick. It's actually Chelsea. Protect my fellow Aries at all costs. What did she like in the last episode? Should I buy this? That's like something I would say to you. Oh, we have to talk. I'm an Aries. They're nailing the way Aries are. And I just love her. And I'm so worried for her that she's going to die and be one of the ones that won't make it out because I feel like she's such a fan favorite all around right now. Like she's making the show for me.
Sure, absolutely, yes. Rick finally came clean on why he wants to go to Bangkok and talk to the owner of this hotel because he was told by his mother that the owner of this hotel killed his father.
Yeah.
And he's just taking that
Yeah.
verbatim.
Well,
like
he said it was like a deathbed thing. Like,
yeah, but it's still like a situation of like,
yeah. Well, it's clearly
is this
screwed
really
with
what
him.
happened? Yeah.
It's clearly messed with him his entire life and led him to this point. But I do think he does care for Chelsea because
Yes.
he did tell her what was going on. And you know what was really weird about their whole little scene even before they got on the boat? Well, I was actually about to say this to Daniel and be like, hey, pause this. He loves when I do that in shows.
I love
because I
it.
had a
It's my
thought. But then
favorite
she
thing.
said my thought because I was like, she got held up at the robbery and then she got bit by the snake. And I was like, bad things come in threes. And she says it. And I was like, that's my fellow Aries. Bringing that Aries fire right there. So do we think Chelsea's going to make it out of the season okay?
I don't know. I hope so. But by the end of the episode, Rick is off to Bangkok.
Yeah, and Chelsea's going to go on the
yeah,
boat
she's going on the
party.
boat with the boat party. It's unclear still, and I think it's unclear to Rick if his intent is to what his intent is to do when he confronts this guy.
I don't think he's very stable, so
No.
Yeah. Now, speaking about people being hot when their life is falling apart, I thought that he peaked with the ghoul on Fallout, but I am loving his White Lotus character, flaws and all. But you know who I don't like? Greg/Gary. Belinda, like we said, clock that. She was, and I agree with you, it's not going to end well for her. We saw her Googling
Yeah.
Jennifer Coolidge's character, Tanya McQuaid, I think. And all this information popped up. So if I'm Belinda, this is what I do. I file a police report when I get home and be like, hey, this guy was spotted in Thailand. This is what's going on. This is where I last saw him. But, she's going to not do that.
Correct.
She'll probably go to the loser security guard that's too distracted by Mook, who's never going to go out with him. And I'm still on team of Mook Shady. What about you?
Oh, I think so. I think she is. I think she is just being used. If she's not, she is using the security guard she is distracting him on purpose to let people in.
See, I think she is dating the young guy that's like the massage therapist guy. I think they're together. I really do. And now we can talk about the three ladies. I don't like them calling old ladies, even though it's a joke. They're not, I heard somebody, I'm like, people just have no idea how old millennials are. They either think we're still 17 or they think we're almost 50. These women are at least, I think maybe in real life, I know they're much older than I am, but on the show, I think they're probably mid 40s, early 50s would be, maybe they're playing younger, but they're not elder millennials. They're a little bit older than that. And they're not senior citizens though.
No.
And so they I think he's doing kind of what Armand did in season 1. Just, how Armand would mess with what's his face who wanted the different suite every time.
Yeah,
and it was
yeah.
you should go on this romantic cruise, but then it's where Tanya wanted to put her mother's ashes in the water or whatever. I think he was kind of messing with them. They're we want to have fun. We want to have fun and do something fun. So he sends them to this normal hotel where it seemed to be all elderly people.
Yeah.
And I think the other two, Kate and the other girl with the blonde hair, they're all blondes, were laughing about it. But Jacqueline, that's the actress girl, you could tell it got in her head because this whole thing started where Jacqueline was trying to talk to her boyfriend or partner or whatever.
He's not responding.
He's not
back.
picking
Yeah.
up. She needs that attention, that buzz, that kind of because she lit up when somebody recognized her when they went there until she realized it was old. They were all older people, and then she was offended. So then they go back, and they're like, well, you're going to come party with us. We want to do something authentic. So then he takes them to something like an authentic event where they have water guns.
Well,
and,
he drops
water
them off
fight
in the middle of
street.
town where there's some holiday going on, and basically the holiday is everybody has
Yeah.
a water gun and they're shooting each other with it.
And my question to them is, they were already in bathing suits. I would have grabbed a water gun and just had fun with it and participated. What about you?
Yeah, that
They
would have been a
freaked
great
out.
time. Yeah, they did not like it.
All of them. And so then they finally meet up with him later at a club. And I think the two guys at the club with him were involved in the robbery. That's my theory.
I could see that.
And I think maybe he's setting them up, and that he and the other guys are going to rob them or do something. What do you think?
I think that's possible for sure. Because so far those three kind of are disconnected from
Yeah.
the rest of the main characters of the show, and so
Yeah.
they're going to have to rope in eventually at some level.
Yeah.
But it's unclear right now how they connect. But that might be the connection.
Possibly. And here's another example of how people don't know age. So I'm on Reddit reading about White Lotus, And there's just some wild theories there. But someone's like, guys, what if Greg is actually the guy that shot Rick's father? And I'm like, they're not, like, the age difference would not, I mean, sure that Greg is older than him, but not by a ton.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys just see, like, a balding man and think, old. Like, they're all the same age. Oh, just, I don't know. I just think people, you should see some of the theories. Now, I don't think they're totally off. Some of the theories about the monkeys being involved with, like, picking up a gun and shooting something, because they've focused on the monkeys a lot on the show. But I don't know. Some of these theories are crazy that people have. Have you got into any?
No,
of the theories?
I'm not. I'm not on White Lotus TikTok for some reason. Like, it never comes to me. So
That's interesting because I've sent you like 5.
Oh, well, I guess I'm not watching them.
No. Tsunami.
Next up, we watched episode 8 of Severance.
Yes.
AKA the episode that everybody complains about.
Yeah, and I still love Severance. I think that if I was watching this the way I watched Severance last season, where I had all the episodes at once, I wouldn't have even blinked about this. And I do think this episode, because it was, let's call it what it is, it was focused on Mrs. Cobel.
Yep.
It was basically, we only saw Mark at the very end. And I think it was essential to the story that they're telling, because we did learn a lot about her and some of her intentions.
And world building as well.
Yeah, because we got to kind of see what a place was like that was run by Lumen, and then Lumen left, and it's really in disarray and terrible and almost like third world-ish and just awful. But I think they could have taken this, fragments of this, and sprinkled it in other episodes. Like, we were so happy that we were getting a 10-episode season. This episode, while it wasn't filler because it did serve a purpose, I felt like all weekend that I didn't actually watch Severance. And I'm going to say that. And I don't think that makes me a hater. I'm just completely being honest about it.
No, I think there's a couple points to that. Like, first, this was the shortest episode of the season by far. It was only like a 37-minute episode. And it just, it really felt completely disconnected from everything. Because it was.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I understand what they're doing with so spoilers for everybody watching Severance. The big reveal of this episode, really, the piece of information they wanted you to get out of this episode was Harmony Cobel is actually the person that came up with the severance procedure.
And not only that, they made a comment in a previous episode, like, she's a soldier, she was raised by them.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
It seems to me like they handpicked kids, forced them into labor, which now it makes sense why we have the little girl that's working with Mr. Milchick.
Yeah.
And so she was chosen as a child to go work for Lumen. So we had that reveal as well. And
so because she's but
it's like Ross's Jurassic Park napkin, only real.
But she came up with it, but she was convinced
Do you
by
remember?
yeah.
Ross came up with the idea for Jurassic Park. Don't make me show the napkin.
I did. So anyways, so she was convinced by Lumen, brainwashed by Lumen to, say it was for the better. Nobody gets credit for the good works, even though everybody now, including Helena, credits her father for coming up with the severance protocol.
Did they invent the god within the company, Kier? Or is this just a god-like space?
Kier is the original founder of the company.
Okay, because
he's the one they were telling the story
me.
about when they went to the retreat.
Because they pray to Kier.
Yeah, Kier Egan is the original founder of the company. I think what they're trying to do is bring Kier Egan back from the dead, and I think that's
a good theory.
Gemma is their first prototype.
Yeah,
I think she actually died. And they brought her back. So now we're trying to figure. So now
do you think they were involved in her death then? Because in
that
flashback episode, we saw the guy that's working with Lumen, like her doctor. That was the doctor at like the fertility clinic. So do you think they planned the whole thing?
Yes, I do. I think
Why
that's
was she
what's happening.
chosen? Why do you?
I don't know, but so it was an important information. But I agree with you. Like, they could have spliced this in with, give us a 50-50 episode where half of it's this and half of it's, our crew back at Lumen having their shenanigans.
I just didn't feel like I got my Severance fix from it. And I know that Patricia Arquette she's done a lot of she's been nominated for Academy Awards. I don't know if she's won anything, but she's been nominated for a lot of awards. So I know that, like, bringing her in, like, she's not just going to have a bit role. But I'll be honest with you, I find her the least interesting. I'd rather even see his brother-in-law interact more. But Milchek, like, if they had given me, like, a Milchek, what's Milchek's, like, when he's not at Lumen, what's his day like? I would have been way more interested in that, like, kind of one-off episode.
Yep.
Because he is the most interesting character. For better or worse.
You said it earlier in the episode. 2 years from now, somebody watching this show without any pre-knowledge is going to blow through this episode, and they're not going to think anything of it because they can go right on to the next episode.
And it is relevant to the story.
Yeah,
it's not like where they had that episode of Stranger Things where Eleven goes and finds, like, her sister that we've never heard about since.
Right.
That just seemed like why did they do this plot? Like, this actually, like, the story was important. I just feel like the execution wasn't my favorite.
That's correct.
All right. Anything else you want to say about Severance?
No, I'm looking forward to the last 2 episodes. I think they're going to probably put their foot on the gas here in episode 8.
I hope so.
Or 9 and 10 and really blow our socks off. And
I don't want them to have another kind of, like, quieter, focusing episode and then finale to be bananas.
Yeah.
I want the last 2 episodes to be
I
chaos.
do think it's going to be difficult for them to recreate the tension of the season finale from season 1. I think that was an all-time great, like, season finale. But yeah, I'm expecting a lot. Okay, so that out of the way, let's talk about one more show. We watched the 2nd episode of Suits LA.
Yes, and you guys can expect us to be like a week behind in Suits because, as we said, we are exhausted, and that airs at the same time as White Lotus, and I just don't have the bandwidth in me to stay up any later and watch. 2nd episode, we got a Harvey reference. So we know he showed up in the episode we haven't watched yet, episode 3. I've already seen screenshots. Other than that, Daniel, what do you think?
This was a better, technically put together, edited episode than the first episode. The pace was slowed down.
It's like the most based
comedy. They were able to, they let you linger with characters a little bit longer. It didn't feel like you were almost going to have a seizure as from the cuts.
But what did you think of the plot?
But the plot is still, I'm not the main character. I don't even know his name.
We just call him Arrow.
So listen, I knew Harvey Specter's name.
Teddy
I knew it from the very beginning
Yeah.
because it was just that character made an impression. This guy, I don't care about his flashbacks. I don't care about his flashbacks that
He's
are clearly
like the least interesting character.
clearly just a ruse to get Harvey Specter into the story. I don't care about what he's doing with the merger thing. I don't care about the murder case that he's working on.
Yeah.
I just don't care. The only characters I'd say I have any attachment to is, and I don't know her name either, so that tells you how much of an attachment I have.
Is it Erica?
Erica and her story with the guy from One Tree Hill, and they're kind of back and forth.
Rick, I think, is his name on the show, and Brian Greenberg is the actor. I would say Erica, for my, I agree with you, is the most interesting character. I thought that from the pilot episode. I feel like that now, like, again, I don't really care. I think it's Teddy, the Green Arrow's character. I'm not entirely sure.
Who cares?
I find him to be the least interesting. He just doesn't have that swagger like that Harvey had. I'm just not invested. And I think we talked about this last week. Like, the hook, whether you liked him or not, was the whole mystery of Mike Ross. This is just a show about lawyers right now. And I'm only watching it because I need something to watch. And I want it to be good. I want to see honestly, I'm mainly watching it for, the sprinklings in of our original characters, like from the actual Suits. I hope it gets better, but I can't see this getting more than 1 or 2 seasons at this point. I think maybe they might get picked up and get a 2nd season. I don't think it's going to get 9 seasons. Like what the OG Suits got.
I think if this gets picked up, it'll be because they make it very cheaply and need to fill time, and they're able to do that. But I don't see this lasting very long.
What's the interesting thing? It's just lawyers. There's no like Mike Ross drama. There's just no hook.
The thing is, actually,
is the hook just the arguing about mergers?
No, wait.
We've already seen that.
So they're entertainment lawyers, which could
that
say
part bores me too.
But you could you could make something interesting out of that. Except they've barely done any entertainment law. They've had the one case with the actress.
Yeah,
that's it.
We know Victoria Justice is a main character. She was in all the press promos. I think her name's Dylan on the show. And as far as I'm concerned, if we're talking about ships, I felt like they tried to make it seem like she and Rick could have something. I'd rather and they already kind of winked at it that we already know that Rick and Erica did hook up. I'm much more interested in Rick and Erica hooking up than I am him. I just the whole that was my non-show notes, something that I'm glad you brought up, because I was thinking about that and I'm like, that's not a hook for me at all. I really don't care. Like, I'd rather them.
Well, I don't think you care because they haven't made you care.
Yeah,
like
I just
they're
don't care.
like, we're shooting this show in L.A. They're entertainment lawyers and they haven't been on a single set. They've just been in offices talking to people, and I think that takes you back to the budget for the show, and one of the reasons why I think it might at least get one extra season because of the budget. It seems to me like they're probably making it for pretty cheap, and I think the numbers are going to be okay-ish enough because they're bringing Harvey in for the next couple episodes.
I don't even think we have a good villain. Like, is the other guy that like kind of screwed him over supposed to be the big villain? Because he's no Daniel Hartman.
No,
like,
absolutely
there's not. It's just there's not a good enough villain yet. I think there's still, again, like you said, some potential. I'm still gonna watch it, but yeah, it's just give Erica more storylines would be what I would say the writers.
Her and her assistant, they are fun. They're good together. They're funny.
Yeah.
They seem you can see how they've got a struggle at the beginning, but you could grow them into a good team because one of them knows
like good
the movie industry versus one of them knows the law, and so I think there's something to play with there. But everything else is just like, ugh.
Yeah,
it's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess of a show.
I agree.
Speaking of messes of shows, this show was kind of a mess. But
I thought you were talking about another
No, I'm talking
show
about this podcast episode.
Oh, I was like, do you want me to talk about Desperate Housewives?
We'll save that for next week.
Y'all, I'm about to start season 7. So we'll save Hope's Desperate Housewives journey.
Yeah, we'll save that because I've grown from tolerance to hatred of that show.
Oh, please. That's because you always walk in and you're like, well, what happened to so-and-so? I was like, oh.
It's just a soap opera that they put on at 9 o'clock.
I love it, though.
That's all it is a soap opera that they put on during prime time.
Yeah, and it's like, I love it.
But yeah, so if you, to reiterate what I said earlier, you can reach out to us with fan mail, send us a message, tell us any shows you want us to watch, tell us any shows we shouldn't watch.
I have an announcement.
Oh boy, here we go.
I feel like Glinda from Wicked. Hi everyone, I have an announcement. July, for the summer I Turn Pretty. I don't think we have like the exact date, but we know it's coming in July. So yay! And I don't know why people are surprised. People are like, oh my gosh, it's the last season where there's only 3 books, y'all. So, Conrad Girlies, time has come.
That didn't stop the Hunger Games people.
Well, I think they want to.
Didn't stop the Harry Potter people.
Or The Hobbit. But those are all movies. This is a show.
Okay. Well, whatever.
Go have some more caffeine or not.
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew, Chip.